like to call this meeting to order, our 2024 annual meeting. Thank you all for coming. First off is the President's report, and I'd just like to say this year has been an incredible year. We've added Emily Sims as a project coordinator working with Patrick, and they're doing an amazing job with riparian lands and lake-wise and action plans and lakes all the way around. We are about to do the second half of our youth discovery program, which is on the Northern Star. We have, how many schools we have, Mary Pat?
We have four.
Four schools.
2 days on the Star.
2 days on the Star, and it's a great way to bring up the awareness of all these young kids of the quality of our lake. We are 4 years into working on Phragmites over by Prouty Beach, which is ongoing as well. It's been an amazing job, a huge difference. It's over there, and there's more to come. We've had, I think, 2 days this year so far over there.
Just 1 day.
One day.
But we've been doing it 4 years.
4 years. And then we've had a scholarship committee for 17 years. It started off in 2012. And we had 3 people on our scholarship committee, Lynn Janess, Don Hendricks, and Sarah McKinney. And they have been reviewing school records, working with the schools, the guidance counselors for North Country High School as well as others, providing scholarships for people who want to go into a science field. Not necessarily environmental sciences, but that is preferred. But we have given out over the last 17 years, we've given out $28,000. And this last year we had 4 students. We gave $500 this year to each of the students as a scholarship, totaling about $2,000, and it's been great. And lastly, I'd like to, we have another employee here, Kendall Lambert, who is our new administrative specialist. And thank God, because I need help, I know. And, you know, she's going to relieve a lot of the things of some of the other officers on the executive committee and on the board. She's going to organize us. And I see nothing but good coming all the way on. We're going to be getting into a lot of stuff later with Patrick and Gabby as to the things that they're doing. So I'm just going to move on to our new scholarship committee because Sarah, Don, and Lynn have resigned after working on it for 17 years, since 2012. And we have Miriam Tatum, retired doctor, Jim Holcomb, a retired doctor, both in Newport, and Elijah Appleton, who is a teacher up at North Country High School. And I'm really happy to have them here and on board. With that said, I would like to pass this on to Mary Pat for our secretary's report.
Well, no, we need to vote. No, we don't need to vote, sorry.
No, we don't do that until after.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
You got it, Tom.
sorry.
I'll do that other part later.
I think perhaps everyone has a copy of the minutes. If not, take a look. Some of you were at this last meeting and some of you were not. So, but if there are any corrections or additions, let me know. Otherwise, we will accept the motion to accept.
We have a motion to accept the minutes as written.
I'll make a motion.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Who seconded that?
Sure.
Jennifer.
Okay, I'll come up.
Nope, she's going up.
Otherwise, the camera, I'm going to be too big on. Okay, we have consolidated treasurer's report, a copy of which I don't happen to have, but that's okay. And you have the profit loss for this year through July 31st. Patrick, Gabby, and Emily are keeping all of us very, very busy. And Patrick is excellent on finding grants, getting grants, solicitation for grants. I think he'll tell you about the Beaver grant that we're dealing with. So we're doing very well. We are, as we cover our salaries for our full-time staff, or three-quarters time, I don't know how we classify you guys technically, we end up covering some of our operating expenses. So we're building up our war chest, if you call it that. So we can thank Patrick for doing some very good management on that and keeping me more busy than I really want to be. So anyway, that's the report. We're doing really quite well. You'll see we're negative at this point for July 31st for overall for this year, but we have a great deal of money that is still coming in that has not been posted yet, and I think you'll see that we will net a fair amount of income. Last year we were unadjusted at about 25,000 of extra. So that will be used for improvements within the watershed. So that's it, unless somebody has questions. Oh my God, okay.
We have a motion to accept.
So moved.
We have a motion
Yes.
first, we have a second.
Second?
All in favor, or any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Thank you very much, Jennifer. Next is our nominating committee. And here's I'm up for nomination if anybody wants it. I keep trying, but I gotta tell you, I mean, when I first became president, I gave him a 6-month interim, and I just did not have the time, and it took 4 times for me to, actually it was my wife after my 4th time of saying no, who talked me into it. And I was saying no because of her. But I am very proud to be part of this organization.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Thanks,
the
Tom.
nominating proposes the following slate for the board. Proposed for a 2-year term ending in 2026 is Stan Chop. He's been on the board before, right? Yeah. And we're happy to have him. Proposed for 3-year term ending 2027 is Michael Croto in Newport, and Jennifer Hopkins and Beth Torpy. And then we have officers for a 1-year term, myself as president, Marty McKenzie as vice president, Mary Pat Goulding as secretary, and Jennifer Hopkins as treasurer. So do we have a vote on that?
You need to vote on it. Can we vote for
We need to have
ourselves?
a vote. Does anybody, would anybody like to make a motion that we
Accept the entire slate.
I
Accept
make
the
the
entire
motion
slate.
to accept that whole slate.
Thank you, Mercedes.
Nice.
Can I get Jeff?
No.
No.
Now
He
Chuck,
wants his wife back.
because seconded it, Chuck.
You seconded it? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. One other thing that I forgot to bring up during my president's report is the remarkable job that NWA, specifically Jennifer, in the aquatic invasive species. We have a greeter program going 7 days a week, 12 hours a day over in Newport Center at Strawberry Acres. And we've been trying to get a decon unit there, but the state was promising it to us last year. It didn't happen, and there's still too much red tape with all of that. But also Beth Torpy has taken on doing something down at South Bay, and there's going to be Dash going on over there. And by the way, Rob Patton's gonna be at the marina later this week for 3 days, and then he might be
Yeah.
over at South Bay.
Great.
So these are all excellent things in improving the quality of this lake and improving the quality of other lakes, because this is a vector lake. Things from here can be transported to other lakes. So, and same thing as people coming in. So all these boats get inspected when they arrive, and the trailers, and also when they leave. So, thank you very much.
Tom, you might want to explain what DASH is.
DASH is diver assisted suction harvesting. So there's multiple ways of dealing with aquatic invasive weeds and nuisance weeds. And DASH is where a diver goes down, he pulls it out by the roots, and then it gets sucked up by a vacuum, brought up to the surface onto a boat. Water goes back into the lake, the weeds stay on the boat, and it gets dumped in my trailer, and I bring it home for compost. And I'm away from the lake.
It's really good compost.
What?
It's good compost.
It is
yeah,
good compost. There's clams in there and crayfish. And then there's benthic barriers, which is what what Newport has done at the city dock, and they're putting benthic barriers down. They can't be put in the water until July 1st, and they're going to be taken out by October 15th. And also the problem with them is as the weeds start to degrade, as they start to die, they create gases, and the gases make these benthic barriers float. So they get caught up in propellers and all sorts of stuff.
Why can't that come down early before the weeds grow?
Because of the fish habitat, eggs and spawning and everything else. And also with them, there's two types of benthic barriers. There's the solid ones, which need to be burped, because all these bubbles underneath, you gotta burp them every week, and you can't let more than a couple millimeters of silt collect on the top. They gotta be cleaned off. They're gonna be taken out at the end of the season. They've gotta be cleaned and stored. The other ones need to be inspected every month, and they will block out 60% of the light. But they still need a little bit of burping, and they need to be inspected once a month. Over in Maine, and I've talked to some people down at A&R, they're using burlap for benthic barriers, and I'm trying to get the state of Vermont to go along with that idea, because burlap, what they do over in Maine is they stake them down with hardwood grading stakes into the bottom, and then burlap you don't have to take out. It biodegrades over the summer. So you're a lot less labor intensive and a lot less expensive. I think City of Newport spent $25,000 on their benthic barriers for what could be done for less than $1,000 with burlap. So it's a way to try to make things a little bit easier. And then there's hand pulling as well. Hand pulling, you don't need permits, but I got into a long rendition about the kayak and things about that. But anyways, I will leave you to what's next on our agenda. Patrick.
Oh.
You're up. Thank you.
And Gabby.
And Gabby, yes, thank you.
That looks like your whaler. So that's a picture from Haverhill Lakes. We had a great time going out there and doing our lake watershed action plan assessments. When I started with MWA in 2021, it was just the board, and we just hired a third and a half now. So this is Emily Sims. She is actually on leave right now. She'll be back later tonight and back tomorrow. Enjoying a topographic survey task in the middle of a bunch of buttercup. And what else is that, Gabby? Yellow stuff.
Oh, that's all buttercup.
Buttercup.
Yeah.
Wow.
She's
So
in a channel.
There's a stream down there. So she's been helping us with a lot of our field assessment work and a lot of our Lake Watershed Action Plan writing, reporting, and our mapping. She's got really good GIS skills, and she's getting trained up on how to do kind of like the landowner outreach, project scoping, and project development work. So that's what is the focus of mine and Gabrielle's and Emily's time, is developing and designing and implementing water quality and habitat improvement projects. So we're going to go through a bunch of our projects just give you a little rendition of what we've been up to and what we have going on. All of which is supported by grants. Too many grants. Too many damn grants. But you see those little check marks on the left side of some of those? That means those grants are done. It feels great. Get some grants done. So you can see we got a lot of grants on the left, a lot of money in the middle, and a lot of dates on the right. And so essentially what we do is we operate on grants. So we are self-funded employees. We have some general administrative money that we do, like the social media and the coordination work, but for the most part we are focused on project work. And so these are all of our projects with some myriad kind of planning grants in there that are for like basin-wide kind of prioritization and strategic planning efforts. One thing at the bottom, the private foundation grant, they just like to be private, don't really ask for their names, but they gave us $15,000 up front, no deliverables to go and implement beaver conflict resolution projects. Some of our projects are stream restoration projects, some of them are invasive species projects, some of them are stormwater projects. So we got a whole plethora of project types and a lot of funding to support that.
Have you ever counted how many?
Grants?
Yeah. I
Right there.
usually say about 16.
We actually missed
racket.
one on here too, I think.
Okay,
Which one? Oh, you doubled up on
Oh,
this,
you're right, we doubled up that one, so.
okay.
just so it fit on the
Yeah.
page. Otherwise, it was like, oh, the next one.
Oh, yeah. So we're gonna run through a few of them. We just finished the Newport Marina Stormwater Project. This is on Farron Street. This is a gravel treatment wetland and a stormwater diversion project. This was a big effort last year. It treats 125 acres of the Prouty Bay neighborhood, removing up to 20 pounds a year of phosphorus and over a ton of sediment. So a lot of water quality pollutants are being addressed in this one project.
Does that need any fence around it?
Oh, God.
Is that a sore topic or something?
It was brought up.
I mean, I drive by it every day and I think,
Yeah.
gee, if a kid,
That's all right.
Valerie said she saw footprints in the mud the other day.
Oh,
So, if a kid wants to get over a fence, he's gonna get over a fence. But yeah, that's a consideration that we have been discussing with the city.
I also want to say thank you to Tom for all of our drone images.
Oh yeah. Tom does our drone plates. These are two shoreland or lakeshore restoration projects. On the left panel, this is actually somebody's old driveway. We completely obliterated the driveway. There's no more driveway. They park on the other side of the street, and we turned their once asphalt driveway, which was a huge stormwater problem for them, into a 3-tier gravel infiltration planting bed. And so stormwater comes off the road, goes through that stone inlet, or it goes down those infiltration steps and infiltrates in the ground. Those are all planted with native shrubs, and so this survived the July flood. So it's holding up. It looks great. That's in Glover. On the right, you can't really see what's going on here because it's a natural shoreland lakeshore stabilization project. Those are about 12 pieces of large driftwood that we have actually anchored into the bank to prevent ice and wave erosion from killing all the cedars along the shoreline. So we're essentially doing soft stabilization along the lake shore to prevent further erosion. And you can see the native vegetation just kind of popping up in between them, so it looks nice. Yeah, you want to talk about this one?
Oh man, this is the biggest one. This is Patrick's baby, I guess. You know, this is his brainchild, I would like to call it. Valley Brook Phase 1 is out in Morgan off of Valley Road. It was an old dairy farm that Fish and Wildlife had acquired because it just wasn't working out for them, and we were able to just throw every type of restoration at it that we could possibly do. We removed 9 undersized culverts and restored those to native stream banks. We did a bunch of floodplain restoration. You can see this is the old barn. Here's some area that they used to have more usable space. This is where we excavated the floodplain to have more floodplain activity, get the stream out of its channel, accessing its floodplain, dropping all those sediments and materials instead of rushing down the landscape. Come on in. down the stream and eroding more. So we were able to restore some awesome floodplain there. We started riparian buffer plantings on some of the tributaries, and we're planning to do more there. We put in, I think, like 35 beaver dam analogs, something like that. These are structures to help trap sediment. They're mimicking beaver dams themselves, slowing water down, spreading it out onto the floodplain, dropping out those sediments, and doing really good things for the stream. Lots of wetland restoration, more strategic woody additions, areas where we can put more structure back into these streams and capture sediment. And then overall habitat restoration, that's the whole shebang. And then we also decommissioned 1,600 feet of old farm road and old forest road. So we took it completely off the map, and now no more water is running straight down it into Valley Brook. It proved to be a very big sediment source. So wiping it off the map, it used to cut all the way through here, and now it's a little bit of a scar in this picture, but it's totally grown in with native vegetation. Beautiful. You can hardly even tell that there was a road cutting up the whole slope there. And we plugged ditches as well to restore hydrology across the floodplain. And this whole project, with all of these things going on, reduced about 28 kilograms of phosphorus a year, which is amazing. And we are working on phase 2 of this project as well, focusing on more.
That's a great project.
Manure
Yeah.
pit that was down there on
This
the
was a
left?
concrete manure pit,
Okay,
yes.
and nothing has been done with that at this point?
So that was actually, all of the manure was removed and sourced where it needed to go. And then the structure itself, the clean concrete, was buried with some of the clean wood material from the actual barn, but everything else from the barn was recycled to local farms. The contractor, Patrick, and I have siding from the barn,
All the trusses were reused.
Wow.
Yep, every single piece was recycled. We pulled out, farms, they have a lot of trash. We pulled out tons and tons of trash
Yeah.
from those properties as well. So everything was properly recycled, put in the right place, or, people are using it, which is great.
So this is the second half of this project. It's both upstream and downstream of phase 1. We're looking at replacing 4 really bad and problematic culverts that have been blowing out 4 times in the last year. 2 private ones and 2 town ones, one owned by Morgan, one owned by Holland. In the bottom left, you see a giant debris flow that just took out Valley Road. Top center panel, this is another major debris flow that took out a Holland Town Road. And then on the right panel, you see some of the buffer plantings and other floodplain restoration work that we plan on doing during phase 2.
This is a project that I'm working on. It's a forest road stabilization project and decommission project as well on Mad Brook and Bald Mountain Brook out in the Westmore area, flowing down to the Clyde. We have a road that we're trying to decommission and obliterate. Again, take it completely off the map because this is what it looks like. The ditch is, concentrating flows, eating the road completely, and now we have less road material to work with, kind of deal. So we are going to plug the ditch in, regrade the road to match hill slope grades, and then have even hill slope sheet flow across the landscape instead of it being funneled, capturing all these little channels and little seeps and streamlets and funneling it straight down into a stream. So we don't want any ditches draining into streams. We need them disconnected, so we're just going to take it off the map completely. We are grateful for the landowner wanting to do this, and we were considering stabilizing a almost 6,000 foot forest road as well, but we are convincing him to obliterate that road as well. So we've got goals for stabilization of ditches, the gullies, and culvert removal, but if we don't end up going for the full obliteration, we might be doing a few more upgrades for those culvert crossings. But otherwise, just trying to disconnect all those flows into main streams and outputting into our streams that go into Lake Memphremagog. So that's a good little picture of this was a ditch eroding into the road surface, and then we're kind of just like creating these pits and mounds to break up the surface, have that little bit of undulation throughout, the forest floor that normally happens, so that it can just flow in the ground instead of surface. Patrick mentions it a lot, these forest roads are really acting as French drains on these mountainscapes, and they're just funneling more and more water down, and we want to put that back in the ground where it belongs.
We're also-
Last week, Is this one of those situations you had to go up to the landlord and knock on the door and say, hey, we'd like to do this to your property?
I met this landowner in a bar.
Oh, gee.
We find outreach in all sorts of ways. Bars are great ways to make
Yeah.
connections.
And actually, we're really thrilled because we're actually, this is a 1,000-acre property at the top of Westmore. And we are now working with Forest Parks and Rec to potentially acquire 500 acres of that property and put it into the Willoughby State Park. So,
Is that Dr. Dave's property?
I don't know Dr. Dave,
Okay.
but
it is-
no, there's no Dave involved that I'm aware of.
Okay.
So this is another Gabby project.
Yeah, so this is another project. This is in Newport for floodplain restoration and forest gully stabilization on a brook that outlets into the Clyde River, really close to Lake Memphremagog. So we'd like to replenish the wood in these streams. They're very degraded. They used to have beaver dams, beaver activity. Beavers have since left. The channels have become incised. The beaver dams have breached. All the sediment's flowing through. What we want to do is get the channel to stop becoming incised and get water back out and accessing its floodplain. So we want to replenish the woody structure in this degraded incised stream by adding strategic woody additions or low-tech process-based restoration methods that are like putting in beaver dams or putting in different types of wood structures to encourage water to rack up, or to encourage the channel to rack up sediment and also get water out of the channel. And then we're also focusing on stabilizing a forest gully that feeds into this system that is putting a lot, look how big this thing is, like, woo! You can see this stadium rod or the measuring rod straight across, like it's pretty wide, like 15 feet wide. So we want to arrest that erosion and keep it up there and start aggrading sediment or building up sediment in that gully to raise the invert or the bottom of the channel so it's not just constantly driving into the landscape and eroding more sediment to send it downstream. So we're focusing on the whole reach itself or the whole stream itself, the source, and then the whole way down to try to capture what's coming down.
This is a farm restoration project over in Derby near, near, kind of near Derby Pond, west of Derby Pond. So this is a large agricultural parcel, and we are working, as you can see on the lower left panel, that's a stream completely devoid of any sort of woody vegetation. It obviously has a lot of inputs in terms of nutrient from the hay fields, which are manure fertilized, from the dairy barns, which obviously have stormwater runoff from them, and just legacy phosphorus from these really overly fertilized agricultural parcels. And there's been a lot of manipulation of these streams. They've been ditched, they've been straightened, they've been channelized, they've been dredged, they've been dammed. So we're trying to undo some of that work. And this tributary drains straight into the Clyde River near, a little bit upstream from Clyde Pond, so pretty close to the lake. So we're working with the Conservation District from Orleans County on this project and a large landowner, which will hopefully lead to a lot more projects elsewhere throughout the county. This is a similar project, another really heavily degraded stream that's a major sediment source up on Hinman Settler Road. This is a 300-acre private kind of hobby farm parcel. We again knocked on the door, spoke to the landowners, said, hey, we had seen some issues with your brook. Did you know about this? We'd love to work with you to help stabilize and improve this brook. So this stream essentially was ditched and straightened like the other one. And what we're going to do is actually plug and fill that old ditch and turn that stream out into an existing wet meadow where it will carve a little kind of diversion channel and let it spread out, fan out, slow it down, sink it in, drop the sediment, and then reforest that wetland, which had actually been a cow pasture and just beaten to hell over the last 40 years. So this is a really important project on a relatively small stream, but we find the cost effectiveness on the small streams are much greater than on the big rivers, which have a lot of risk and a lot of expense. Completely different project type. This is over our shoulder, about, 500 yards maybe, 1,000 yards. And this is the Prouty Beach and Bluffside Farm Phragmites removal project. This is Mary Pat's brainchild over many years of picking away at a horrid Phragmites infestation. Gabby obtained $75,000 in grants to remove this 2.5 acres of infestation, and so we have a contractor. We're working out a contract right now with Ames Ecologics out of Brownington and he's a licensed herbicide applicator and an ecological contractor. And so he will be doing both mechanical removal of the populations in the water or below the water line, and spot spraying of infestations above the water line. We're working with the city and Vermont Land Trust to get this done. There's going to be a big PR campaign in the next couple weeks. Hopefully you see some of that exposure.
Who did you say was doing it? Who did you say was doing
Abraham
it?
Ames.
Oh, it's Abraham, okay.
And so then there will be temporary 8-hour closures of the footbridge while spot spraying is going on, so that people don't get caught in the mist.
We will be having Phragmites pulling parties, so keep an eye out for we can use all the hands we can get.
Yeah. We do a lot of planning. So we really consult and advise for different sub-watersheds within our greater basin. And so we've completed the Willoughby Lake Watershed Action Plan, and we're about 2/3 of the way through the Echo and Seymour Lakes Watershed Action Plan, which are really straight up actionable plans. You identify problems, you discuss solutions, you prioritize opportunities, and then we actually develop restoration concept designs for priority projects, so that when we're done with our action plan development, there is the next step already in front of you. You have concepts, you can use those concept designs to seek more funding, to finish the designs, to permit the projects, and then get implementation funding. So we work really close with the Orleans Conservation District on the Willoughby, Echo, and Seymour ones, and we're spearheading the April ones with Gabby and Emily really taking on that task and diving in head first and getting a lot of landowner engagement. Sometimes when you're out in the Aprils, you're like, man, what are we doing here? This place is in pretty good shape. And then 10 inches of rain falls, and you're like, oh, okay, it's got problems. All right, we're here for good reasons. So
It's almost perfect timing for especially Echo and Seymour and the Morgan and Charleston areas to have this be done, because it's, we found some of these issues last year that have opened up and become bigger problems where roads have completely eaten away from a county we documented last year. So that was a few inches deep. So it's nice that we could actually contribute to, stabilizing these roads and putting real BMPs where they matter, because they're hurting out there and they really do need help.
Gabby, you might want to tell them how many phone calls you've gotten and answered since.
Oh yeah, these past few months have been very, very busy for us for technical assistance meetings. We've been, both Patrick and I have been dividing and conquering and splitting up and going out to landowners and talking about, bad culverts are mostly the issue, or, overwhelmed ditches, and, you guys know the issues at this point. But yeah, it's been very heavy-hearted.
Just a question before you go on.
Yeah.
On the action plans, would Derby Pond be a candidate, or is there interest on Derby Pond?
I know Salem lakes are higher priority,
Okay.
but Derby Pond, as a lake watershed, it's certainly an eligible entity. Yeah.
Okay. Well, here's a landowner who will work with you if you want.
Wonderful. There's a couple down your block I'd love to talk to.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are. There aren't that many landowners, which is kind of good, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these are recent photos from implementation work that we did with Northwoods in South Albany, which is a part of the watershed that we really don't work in, and we actually just got a grant for $45,000 from Vermont Housing Conservation Board and the Great Lakes Fishery Commission to solely focus in that area with intent. So we really want to expand our reach and our contact and our knowledge base of the watershed issues in the Barton and the Black River, Albany, Irisburg, Coventry, Craftsbury, Glover, and really do some targeted work up in that section. We're really kind of heavily leaning on the east side. We'd love to talk to our west side watershed neighbors. And these two projects are not standard projects for us. They're called culvert cage protectors, essentially. So what you see here is a timber 2x4 treated pressure treated frame with epoxy coated wire mesh enclosing the frame, bottom, floor, ceiling, and sidewalls, and then a inlet pipe with another inlet cage. So what this does is it takes a culvert that may be 5-6 feet wide, and a beaver could plug that up overnight, and takes that 5 or 6 foot span and turns into a 50-foot perimeter span. So there's no way a beaver is going to plug that thing up overnight. So it gives, one, it's a major deterrent. The beaver just can't plug this cage up because it's too porous. And if they do, if they're really committed, it takes them a lot longer. And so the road commissioners, the road crews, they have that much more time to get down there and clean out the debris before the road plugs up and washes out. And so this is that $15,000 grant we got from Pride Foundation to work with beaver conflict resolution projects, solely to avoid having to take the lethal option. You know, beavers are really good for water quality. They're really good for habitat. They're ecosystem engineers. They really add complexity to the watershed's waterways. And so we want them where we can tolerate them, where we can coexist with them. Obviously, it's not the solution every time. But, you know, you can't let a beaver, you can't allow a beaver to maintain existence if he's flooding a giant substation, for instance. But when we're talking about a rural road that passes 8 cars a day and is not going to warrant a $100,000 upgrade, this is a pretty cheap solution that gives you a lot of time and flexibility to avoid, you know, catastrophic blowout. So this has been really fun. We are absolutely certain that we can get a lot more money to do this work. We have landowners calling us all the time about beavers. So beavers are our friends most of the time. And we're going to close on this. We're not going to close on this slide, but this is a major slide. Speaking of close, we have closed on. Sorry, I'm crouching too much. We have closed on 5 properties in the past 10 days. So we've been working for 2 years to acquire and conserve river and floodplain and wetland properties throughout the basin with the Vermont Fish and Wildlife Department. So we do the landowner outreach, we do the landowner liaison, we coordinate the surveys, the appraisals, we coordinate we get the real estate attorneys involved in the purchase and sale agreements and the deed work and the title opinions. And then we call VHAB, and they make things very interesting, and then the money shows up, and then the property's closed, right? It's a 2-year process we've been working on, and we're finally seeing the end of the tunnel. We got 4 properties on the Johns River up in Derby that we closed on this week. We're going to close on 2 Clyde River properties next week, or this week even, and we've actually closed on 1 donation property up in Barton, up at Runaway Pond, which is really neat. So these are all public access areas, over 50 acres in total, along the streams where people can go fishing, go hunting, go trapping, drop their boat in, stand around and look at the butterflies. The reason we chose these properties is because they're major floodplain sections, they're confluence areas of 2 streams. They have restoration opportunities, or they have really, you know, high conservation value habitat. So we sought them out, we talked to landowners, we negotiated for 2 years, went through all the rigmarole, and now we actually have public lands where they were none. So this is a major and perpetual success.
So one's at the Johns River, is that up at the very top of the brook?
No, over 40 acres, or almost 40 acres is down on the lower floodplain.
Okay,
So
I know that they were talking about buying land in the upper.
Yeah, we bought 6.5 acres on, kind of by that body shop on Main Street going Derby line.
Yeah.
And we're looking to buy another 4.5 acres from the town, which is an abutting property.
Okay.
Which is, both these properties immediately downstream from the Kids Pond Fishing Game Club.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Well done, Patrick.
Thank you.
Really good.
And this is our final plug. We had to reschedule our river cleanup because rivers rose and got muddy, and probably not a great time to be in the water with all the flooding. So we are going to try again on September 14th, 2 weekends after Labor Day. We're hoping that it's warm. We're hoping the water's low and clear. We're going to start in West Charleston, just downstream from my favorite sandwich shop at, I don't even know the name.
Scampies.
Scampies, yeah. And we're going to drop in at our friend Kelby's place, and we're going to float all the way down the river to Salem Lake, picking trash as we go. We got a landowner who's got a dump truck who brings it up to the dump for us. The dump waives all the tipping fees. Landfill. The landfill waives all the tipping fees, and we do a lot of good for the Clyde River. So we'd love for you all to reach out if you're interested and join us on the canoe.
Spread more seeds.
Yeah.
And just one more thing, because I want to drive the point home for everyone. Why are you out in all these places and not at Lake Memphremagog?
Oh, yeah.
Should we get the map?
Yeah, no, that's great. As a watershed, you know, the lake exhibits symptoms that are plaguing the greater watershed, right? Issues manifest in the lake. once the problems are in the lake, you can't really do much about it given the size of the water body, given the complexity of the cycling within the lake, given the international boundaries. So what we do, and it's not just because we feel this way, it's because science tells us to head this direction, is we work on the rivers. They are the conveyors of sediment. They are the conveyors of pollutants. They are the conveyors of floodwaters. So we seek upstream projects which will improve water quality on the ground up there and essentially perpetuate those good trends downstream. So there's only so much work, there's only so much perimeter of the lake down here that we can work on, and it's not always the greatest contributor of sediment or phosphorus. So that's why we work upstream on those projects, because our TMDL dictates that we need to reduce sediment loading. Sediment loading in the lake primarily comes from the rivers, and so therefore we work up the rivers.
Thank you, Patrick.
Yes.
Thank you, and thank you. All very, very appreciated. Now, do we have any other business to attend to?
Most people have questions,
Going what?
unless anybody has questions.
Going what?
Go eat food, drink
Okay,
drink.
would anybody like to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Any seconds? So moved, no discussion. Go eat.
Thanks, Don.
Thank you very much. Thanks all very much for coming.